Peace and greetings. Okay. However it goes. All black laws, all black people. Today is Heaven is a Good Black Woman. I will be your moderator. Diallo Saleh. We are not presenting this in a question format. We have right phenomenal women with us here today that will fill the statement, heaven is a good black woman. What does it look like for black people? They will fill this statement, this idea, as it regards entertainment, labor, law, politics, health, education, economics, religion, sex, and war. And I'm going to add to that the black family. So I'll put family up here because the ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people. So when you study the historical context of Africa, you see how people were allowed to come in with their idea and colonize. And the black woman is the mother of all civilization. And because the black woman is the mother of all civilization, it is my impression that her womb has been violated. So when we look at the planet Earth, we call the planet Mother Earth. You see men throughout the annals of time, dig it up and build libraries and build bridges. Could you imagine someone cutting off one of your breasts to build something? And that's what has happened to the planet. We have all these tall skyscrapers, but symbolically, that's like cutting off the nose of a woman to build something that is almost an illusion. It doesn't have anything to do with our nature, when we should be living in an agrarian culture, building off the land, building our homes from trees, and teaching our children independently. So what our children end up doing is being pushed into an educational system where they're not learning the family dynamics. In our culture, a child would not get introduced to someone else educating them outside of their family until about 13 or 14 years. And that was to learn a trade. So if they had to learn how to hunt, or if they had to learn how to build a hut, they would be introduced to that by another family by making pottery after they learned the basics. So now we sending our children away without the fundamentals and the basics, and they're coming back as a byproduct of American culture, looking towards sustaining every area of human interaction without facilitating what they learn from Mother Nature, the black woman. So that's just a backdrop of where we're trying to go with it. We have some phenomenal women here, and every woman here will be asked to respond to the notion, heaven is a good black woman. What does that look like for black people in entertainment, family, labor, law, politics, health, education, economics, religion, sex, war? You can discuss one particular, all of them if you like, or just say whatever you like. But it's my hopes, or our hopes, to be able to broadcast this around the world, make DVDs of it, to see a think tank of purposeful discussion where something tangible comes out of it. So even if that meant, after the discussion, you started getting resources together to make a dollar store and use the proceeds from the dollar store to open a freedom school for black kids. Something tangible where it's not just a conversation. It's an ongoing dialogue and ongoing interaction. So I'm not going to take up no more of y'all time because I'm not a black woman, and I would like the black women to feel all of these dynamics today, because I also was materialized in the womb of a woman. Peace.
woman in terms of entertainment, labor, law, politics, health, education, economics, religion, sex, war, and family. Well, to start at the top, I would say for entertainment, well, first we need to define a criteria for what a good black woman is. So I think everybody would agree that a good black woman is a righteous woman, a woman who makes decisions from a righteous standpoint in regards to how she cares for herself, how she cares for her family and community, how she presents herself, her sexuality, how she interacts with other women, how she interacts with men, from a standpoint of righteousness. So if we look at entertainment, what we need is entertainers, actresses, songstresses, who exude righteous behavior. And if we had that, then we probably wouldn't have as much chaos and entertainment as we have today. If the women were to just hold their ground and raise the standard, raise the expectations, communicate what they will accept and what they won't accept, then our male counterpart entertainers would have to fall in line. I always say, and this may be a bad example, but I always say that if the only type of women that exist were either pious women or whorish women, who a man would have to either marry a woman in order to have sex with her, or would have to pay a large amount of money to have sex with her, I bet you more men would get married and would be more dedicated to family and wouldn't have as much disrespect going on as we do now in regards to women. That's my take on that.
I think it's really important that we decide what's entertaining to us about women. I think it's always become, well, it's not becoming, it's been since maybe the late 80s, early 90s, that women, what's entertaining about women is just her body, her shaking her body, her, you know, just mostly we see in videos of the women. We don't entertain the fact that the woman's mind can be entertainment and can be attractive. And we said heaven is a good black woman, and we said about being righteous, but also knowing, understanding your role. And if a woman knew and understood her role, then there would be no way that she would be that type of entertainment for anyone, because she knows and understands her role as mother civilization, being righteous, doing the right thing for our babies, our man, and ourselves. Then we would know that that self-preservation is important. And every time we're giving up a little bit more when we're trying to entertain, whether it be the video lady or us in the club or whatever it is, we're realizing we're losing a little bit of that heaven. That means our black man is losing a little bit of that heaven, and our black babies are losing a little bit of that heaven. So therefore heaven no longer exists for us. So we're in this constant state of hell. So just realizing that entertainment means a lot more than, it should be a lot more for us than just that whole shaking and excuse me, gyrating thing that we've gotten accustomed to. We have so much more to offer, and I think that's a really important thing for us to realize and to teach our babies at a young age, as young as Kalilah, you know, for her to understand the importance that, you know, what's so entertaining and so wonderful and to be looked at by her is, you know, when she's at, you know, when I see her, she's reading, she's talking, she's very intelligent, and those things need to be praised more than the other things, so that we can understand the importance, or understand that we are even that heaven. A lot of women don't even understand that.
And, you know, the whole shaking and gyrating thing, we also have to understand that we always did that historically. Our traditional African dances, there's a whole lot of shaking and gyrating, but it's in a certain context. It's not on stage and with an audience full of men who are looking for sexual stimulation.
Right.
It's always in context of something. But we dancing, you know, we did African dances. We did it as a group. We didn't do it to entertain. First of all, we did it because there was a rites of passage celebration, and we celebrated the men who came back from rites of passage. Or we did it because the birth of a new child in the community. We did it because someone was getting married, and we danced when we followed her around the community. That was the wedding ceremony. So always in a context, and it wasn't solely for entertainment, and definitely not for the entertainment for a sexual purpose.
That's true.
With regard to responding to this statement, heaven is a good black woman, I definitely am in agreement with my sister that a woman has to have some standards for herself. Those standards should be righteousness, right thinking, right speaking, right acting. And all of that, right thinking, right speaking, right acting, should be in accord with what is right and good for herself, her family, her community, and the nation. And if she is measuring herself by those standards, then any area listed over here, entertainment, labor, law, politics, health, education, economics, religion, sex, war, and the family, will be filled with a thinking woman who is thinking about what is in the interest of her family and other African families. And so that would be heaven to me, so that many of the dysfunctional behaviors that we see, as I observed on yesterday evening at 6 o'clock and coming from some of my business, young people race and rage up on another African young person to beat him to a pulp. I didn't understand that. I wondered to myself, I was a block away, what was that rage about? What was the purpose of it? It may not have had a good purpose. So to me, for our children to be turning on one another in self-hate, in jealousy, we must do some work, some level of work to engage our children in better thinking and better behaviors, because it's self-destructive, it's self-hating, and it's helping to annihilate us, and it's improper behavior. So clearly, to me, there's lots of work to be done, and I will say in closing, love is our greatest strength. And so as we proceed to develop programs and activities and even our own actions toward one another, if we understand, I wrote this for myself today so I can carry it throughout my day and throughout my life, that all forms of life are very fragile, delicate, and sensitive. That includes human life. So we must handle all forms of life, and especially human life, carefully and sacredly. And if we would use that as a measure of how we interact with ourselves first, with one another, we could we could continue the legacy of our race into the future and give our children the kind of role modeling they deserve to have of good and right behavior. And that will be heaven for us.
You said it great. You did everything and said everything I was going with, so yes, you really did. Because heaven is a good black woman, and to piggyback with you, when we look at our black women, just women period, but definitely our black women, because we do sell ourselves a little too short. If we were to take the time and understand some of the scriptures or just the word of our men, because our men take the time to reach out to us and put us on a pedestal, but we have a tendency to become a little more aggressive to them, when we should really step back and realize that they're giving us something so gentle and nice of ourselves, to think about ourselves, so that we can be that gentle, nice, good black woman and reach up and out. Because when you say heaven, that's reach up, reach out. There's nothing higher than that. So our men, we already have them up there. And for us to get up there with them, we have to acknowledge some of what they're saying so that we can find ourselves to be a lot better, groom ourselves better, than to become almost like the dirty laundry, I would say. Because the dirty laundry has been touched, it's been soiled, and shaken about too much. You don't want that. You want that nice, virtuous woman. So when you look at that and take all of that into consideration, just like my sister has said, look at all of those things. This is where we come in. We don't have to entertain, as you stated, gyrating, because it's a beautiful thing. It's used in celebration for sure. And we know that. Even when we just clap our hands to say that, oh wow, we really like that. That's more entertaining than to see somebody actually doing, almost going all the way to the bottom, looking like pure sex all the time. All the time. Nothing more than that. Come on, we're better than that. So we do have to go in ourselves. That's a very good topic. Heaven. A good black woman.
And in order to be good, which is a standard, as opposed to bad, we need to, I really like that I saw earlier this week, a statement that Oprah Winfrey had made. She said, if we would please take responsibility for the energy that you bring into my space, if we would check ourselves before we go into our organizations, into our home, check yourself on the energy that you are bringing. It's not that we're people without problems and issues and things that bother us, but if we could breathe deeply, breathing is a good thing, a deep breathing exercise, and stop and think about how we're going to affect others, and if we want to affect others in a good way, then just carry a tone and a spirit that is healing and that is helpful, and I think the better results come about. We can talk through the issues and come to better conclusions when we really check our spirit, before we bring it into places and spaces.
That's a good point. That's a good point. On the second point on the list, in regards to labor, what I thought about was who are we working for and why? And many of us work outside the home. Some of us have to work outside the home. But why are we doing it? As long as we're clear that we're doing it for family, to provide for our families, and we keep that in perspective, then, because sometimes we tend to get caught up in wanting to provide for our families so much, or wanting to give so much, that we end up, creating a debt situation for ourselves. You have to work longer hours, and then now your family doesn't have as much time. So you're working for food on the table, but you can't even get home in time enough to cook a decent meal. So we have to check who we're working for and why. And when the work outside the home, if it gets out of balance, we have to be willing to put it back in balance and let it go, because we really work for our families. We really are supposed to be working for our communities, and for the betterment of black people, to help black people be more sovereign and less dependent on others. One of the things I always teach my children is that you can be whatever it is that you want to be in life, but make sure whatever you choose is something that can help us as a people be more sovereign and independent. So in whatever field it is that you choose, you have to give back to the community in some way. And also I teach them, in today's economy, the jobs that our parents used to get where they worked for 30, 40 years and retired, we don't have access to those type of jobs anymore. So we have to change the way that we look at work. And the key is to just have multiple streams of income, so you don't have to spend so much time with one employer. You have this source over here, this source over here. You can pull from multiple sources, so you don't have to be so dependent on one source of income. So that means to diversify what you have to offer, so that you can offer it in different places. And that it's free up your time so you can spend more time with your family. You don't have to be so dependent on a job.
And that's a really important thing, because I was just building with a couple of sisters who were adamant on the fact that they were not having no more. They had one child each, and you don't have to have a whole lot of children, but they have one child each, and they were adamant that I'm not having another child. My career is so important, and the focus is lost because now they're working for their family no longer brings the Black woman's gratification or satisfaction, and it's an odd concept for me because my mother raised us to be wives and to be mothers. And so I'm raising my daughter to be a wife and a mother, of course, be an independent thinker, but realize what does that mean in the relationship of, with you and your man.
What does that look like?
What is that? Yeah, right. What does that look like? Because it does not look like, you said you coming home, and I was working a different job, and I was working in Reston, Virginia, making almost $40,000 more a year than I'm making now. And at the time, it seemed so important. So I'm driving from Baltimore to Reston. I'm getting up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm not getting home till 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. So like you said, you're making all this money, but no time to come home and cook food. So now we're grabbing something to eat on the way in. So now I'm poisoning my family with whatever I'm making real quick, you know what I'm saying, to feed them. And realize now it's labor. Now it's more intense, like whatever. It's not work, it's not enjoyment. So I decided that wasn't for me any longer. So now I work 10 minutes from home. I work 6 hours a day so that I can be there in the morning, drop the kids off or whatever, because that's the important part, to be able to take care of my family, support them. I'm not searching for some American dream. I'm searching to, like you said, raise our family so that we can, as a family, then give back to the community and help uplift the community. It's not about an individual thing. When you start having an African way of mind of thinking, you realize the community is the bigger picture. You take, of course, your family, take care of your family, but you got to take care of each other. And that was, when these women were saying this, I'm just looking like, wow, they're really so far gone from the root of what should be. And that's all they can talk about is their career and going to school, which I think is all important. I think it's important to be educated, and all those things are wonderful to apply them appropriately. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that's really, I think we have a hard time with as Black women, is the idea of submission, like submitting to what our role is, submitting to the truth, submitting to our man, submitting to our family, our community, because it has such a bad feel to it when you say submit. It means
sacrifice.
You know what I'm saying? That's it. But people take it as someone's over you, doing something to you, because a lot of times when you hear it, different
terminology.
Right, it becomes something different. So women, when I say things like, me submitting to my God or my king, my husband, some women look like, oh my God, is she okay? Is she being oppressed? Call 911. She might need some help over there. But I'm good. You know what I'm saying? That means I just know my place. And knowing my place doesn't mean I'm less than or anything's happening to me. I just know what my duty and role is in this family. And that's where I want to put my work. If I got to break my back, it ain't going to be riding up and down 95 chasing $1 when my babies are at home with a latchkey trying to get in, and they heating something in the microwave and all that. I'm not for it. So I just had to read my mind, refocus your mind. And that's, I don't know, when you said that, that's just it hits me and I get like a little emotional.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just not willing to make the sacrifice. And I tell young people all the time, you can get your education, you have the rest of your life to get as many degrees as you want. You have a very limited window of time to have children and secure yourself as a mother and a wife. Make that the priority. Make that the priority. You can go to school while you have children. You can do both. You may have to sacrifice a second car. You may have to sacrifice the 5-bedroom house in the suburbs with the big backyard. You may have to make some sacrifice. You may have to sacrifice cable TV, but it's okay. Focus on your family, your children. What's the point in working when you have to, the daycare center is spending all the time with your children. They're the ones that see your child take the first steps and all of that. What's the point? So a lot of people just not
your daughter took her first steps today. And that's how you get to celebrate with this little note with a smiley face on it. And you're like, wow, really?
It's a matter of sacrifice. And I think, when we look back to the women's liberation movement, the civil rights movement, what happened was our mothers, even our grandmothers in some cases, got access to a lot more. And so over the years, intergenerationally, you see you saw the focus change. It wasn't on the family anymore because now we have all this access, all this education. I know women who live in college, getting degree after degree after degree, and they plan it out, but they have no plan for marriage and family. Next thing you know, they wake up, they're 35 years old, they're scrambling, they're wondering, you know, I gotta hurry up and get married so I can have children before my eggs dry up. You don't have a plan, you didn't make a plan for that, but you plan for all of this education, you're making all of this money. And, you know what I mean, scrambling because you don't know how you're gonna perpetuate yourself in the family.
You should realize, what did you really get access to? And I guess, you know, not being there at that time, and you know how important it was to the women to be able to do some of the things they weren't allowed to do, but what did they really give you access to? And so you have to realize, what was the plan, what was their plan when you weren't planning?
Right.
Well, you were getting this access, you know what I'm saying, you love this because it's giving you nothing. So now you have all this money and you have all these things going on, and I know I have a lot of friends who are very professional women who are now 40 years old, we're all close to 40, sitting in 3-bedroom houses by themselves wondering, how come I can't find a man? Because you're off plan, sister. You know, that's the plan isn't for you now to become, you know, we're at that point now where women are making more money than men. Everything is like topsy-turvy. So now you're kind of taking care of him in a way where he should be taking care of you. He's at home cooking, taking care of the baby. You at work, making whatever money. Everybody's in a crazy role, and you wonder why it's not working. Like you said, you failed to plan. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But they had a plan. When they gave you all those so-called rights, they knew what that would do. That would take the black woman out of her home. So now she's no longer raising her babies. Now our babies are left to the street, and then we have Trayvon Martin on our hands. You know what I'm saying? And it's a sad situation where it's overwhelming. I wish that women could. I don't know. I guess the question would be, how do we get back to that? What do we do?
There's no going back.
I think
It's just a way of diplomatically taking ourselves, I do apologize, as I said earlier, and just like you said also, and we're all saying the same thing, we have to stand still a little and recognize our symbol. Who are we? What do we want? How do we want it? If that means so much to us to take that title, heaven, how do we get there? What do we do to achieve that? There's a man there. So you're pushing him away once you've said, this is how I'm going to do it. My way. It's not my way. It's our way. Well, what would make it work for both of us and these little people maybe, because it's usually one in there.
Right.
If it's not 2 or 3, it's one in there. And we have to recognize that. Just like when they did way back when, before they said, let's rise and let us do this now because the men are away, they're doing this. Why can't we come out of the kitchen some? All right, we came out of the kitchen, but we came out too much. Somebody has to stay there and do this. And our men, they don't mind helping because they did it back then too. They helped. But let's recognize and remember, we're all trying to get somewhere above all that little territory there, but how are we going to get there? How are we going to get there? Who are we? Who do we want to be? Do I want to be the ragamuffin to get there? Or do I want to be this nice person that got there? I could be the vagabond lady. I could be the educated lady. Or I could just be that nice, simple, plain. That nice, simple, plain is educated. She's adhering to the word. Be it, how did he say it when we all started? Be you believe Jesus, God, Muhammad, Moses, Jesus. But we all got to bring it together. Put it all in that pot so that pot will open up. Smell good, look good. And say, oh, this is heaven. This is really heaven, us. Look at me. There my blossoming. Just look at me, my skin. Look at me. Hear my voice. Am I speaking heaven? Am I seeing it? Within me, my heart. Then look around at those children. Look at that man. It's all going to be just smooth. It'll be peace, like she said. Pure peace all the time.
I think it's important to break this cycle once we
Yes.
recognize it, and to, you know, when we raise our children, instilling in the prioritization of family. You know, and we prioritize education too, but not over family, because without family, it's not even worth anything. It's all for naught. So in order to break that cycle, we have to do something different intergenerationally.
Now I'm still driving. What does it look like? You know, I like, you know, what everyone's saying, and because it seemed to be one of those moments where the self-reflective processing was going on. I figured I would say something, you know, just for our audience who might be watching, and they're like, oh, this is quiet right now, so that they can take their own self-reflective thought. But I like to say, you know, or I'll even take myself out of the equation. I know, or we should be saying, what does that look like? You know, when we say with the woman heaven, you know, as Sister Dorothy was saying, what does that look like? Am I speaking heaven? Is it in my heart heaven? Am I showing the love to the people? Am I presenting myself, you know, in this heavenly text? We talking about in religious text, heaven is the place of peace, everlasting peace. So am I presenting that, living that? So, you know, when you say, what does that look like? And you take the areas of human interaction, because that's what those are: entertainment, labor, law, politics, health, education, economics, religion, sex, war, family, being a macrocosm of all of that has been removed from it. But those are human interactive dynamics, all of them. So what does it look like for black people? What does the family look like? Sister Kalilah, and I meant to say, you know, when next time you say something, say your name, you know, introduce yourself a little bit, because you know this is like a work in progress, the conversation in motion. So you know people are hearing this, and when you say it looks like, you know, leaving $80,000 or taking an $80,000 cut to have breakfast, take the children to school, pick them up from school, and teach them. It looks like, you know, creating multiple sources of incomes so I can be an at-home mom and not have to hear my child taking their first steps from the daycare. It looks like, you know, every moment being a decision and checking my spirit or my sentiments, you know, at the door, and being aware of, is heaven in my heart, is heaven in my mouth, you know, not allowing my own experiences or issues or vanity to change any piece of any environment, but knowing what it looks like in all of these different areas. I mean, and I like Sister Dorothy, she's saying, you know, it's a man here, you know, you have to, it's our, and what does that look like? And I hope the brothers is saying, you know, it's a perpetual war out here. You know, the black children is ending up in prison. The black children is ending up in the graveyard. And, you know, and you have the argument, well, the black child is coming from the womb of the black woman, and what is the black woman's sentiment when she finds out that she's with child? Is she like, oh, wow, I'm having a baby? Or she like, damn, I'm pregnant? Is the dude saying, baby, we about to have a child? Or is the dude saying, go to Planned Parenthood? Right. You know, and talking abortion, and that ain't mine. And so what kind of global dynamics and local dynamics are going on where the family is immediately in the balance within any situation and any interaction? And I'm not raising the question, I'm not asking the question, because I would like the dialogue to continue with the sisters. But when I seen that the vibrative room or realm of reflection, you know, it begins to be realer and realer, and you start saying, you know, this is what I'm doing, this is what I can do, you know, and this is what it looks like when you start forwarding a plan or an agenda for all of the different areas of human activity. So you say you fail a plan, you plan to fail. All right, we here now, we know this information, we restored the history, we at this place of information. What does that look like in the community school where, you know, she may not have the resources at home to take the kids to school and bring the children home, but you might, and y'all might know each other. So is the village raising a child, or is it, you know, in my family, I only worry about my family, but, you know, she might be caught, she might be a casualty of the drug trade and might be, you know, using crack or cocaine or marijuana or alcohol or tobacco or something that might be creating a deficit in her ability to do things well. And where are those children when her teeth is gritting and she's trying to go get her buzz? So when we check ourselves at the door, we are identifying and having plans for those variables. Y'all know I could talk, but I would prefer, you know, the women, y'all doing, and I just want you to know y'all doing a phenomenal job, and y'all bringing to light, you know, a lot of things that I'm sure a man probably have never seen a group of women talking on this level. So this is history in the making. Even if when they see their mothers, you know, everybody might bring something for a meal, but when you start saying, well, what does this look like, and how do we feel about the men, and how do we identify ourselves? I ain't never seen it. This is 2012. But we have, you know, Sister Ojuolape here. I didn't get you, tell me your name again, Queen?
Jeanette.
Sister Jeanette. And just coming into the mix, Sister Crystal.
Peace.
You know, and you know, we're just picking it up from Heaven is a Good Black Woman, the areas of human interaction, what does it look like? And I'm saying, what does it look like particularly for black people, because I know that for other populations of people, it looks a little different, because other populations of people have not been forced into a culture of poverty. They have not been forced into a community of the projects. They have not been forced into COINTELPRO dynamics, infiltrating black organizations and drugs and all of those different things, and guns and the manufacturing of programs, TV and lifestyles. So I have to get specific and say black people, because I remember my experience as a black boy to a black man. And when I looked around in my classroom and I saw 15 of us, just black boys, and I'm sure the sisters probably could say something similar. And now that I'm adult, I know out of the 15, which ones have been incarcerated, have been in prison. Out of the 15, which ones are deceased. Out of the 15, which ones did not get married but have children, you know, in different situations. Out of the 15, which ones abuse drugs and might still be on drugs and have gone to rehab. Out of the 15, you know, which ones might have, you know, lost a muscle in their spine and might be cohabitating with Steve. So all of these different dynamics of warfare that has been imparted just on the black male. Yeah, I said it. Homosexuality is part of that warfare imparted on the black male. Anytime you get a man or a woman to question their sexuality and engage in behaviors, that's like birth control at a national and international level, because you're not procreating if you're having same-sex relationships. But this is not, so that's, now we touching on sex now. So just from listening to our interaction, and I'm not even supposed to be talking.
But let's get back to law.
Yeah, let's get the black woman in the mix. And you know,
Ojuolape,
it's a lot.
To the African, proverb is law. So, you know, even to this day, we could be fussing at the marketplace over the price of something, you know, or think I cheated you or something like that. We're fussing, we're going back and forth. A third party comes in, says a proverb that proves you are right. I automatically defer. The proverbial wisdom is the law. So in rearing our families and interacting with ourselves, we have proverbs. It doesn't necessarily have to be African proverbs. We have African American proverbial wisdom. Amina. Amawala. Come here.
Yeah, God granted us the universe, every continent.
Tell me a proverb.
Proverbs?
Yeah.
I don't even know for them.
Anyone. Think of a proverb real quick.
I don't even know what a
A
proverb is.
proverb. Amina, give me a proverb. Say it loud.
A leaf that stays around the soap long enough will one day become part of the leaf.
A leaf that stays around the soap long enough will one day be part of the leaf, be part of the soap.
Part of the leaf.
Okay.
I mean, soap.
So basically, what does that mean?
If you stay around with someone long enough, you'll catch on to traces of their character.
So if you stay around someone long enough, they'll eventually have their character traits. Watch the company that you keep. Law. Right? So in our interactions with ourselves, we need to refer to our proverbial wisdom. In regards to interactions with those outside of ourselves, we need to know our rights.
If you were trying to take us to what does it look like with regard to a heavenly family?
Well, that was just me arbitrarily chiming in, trying to pull out the points of in the discussion where it doesn't seem so intangible and ideological and esoteric, where it becomes tangible, where it looks like this. So we want to be good mothers and raise our children. We're not making microwave food. It looks like, you know, I'm here watching the first steps. It looks like I'm adjusting my economics to be able to see the first steps. It looks like I'm not chasing the American dream and flushing my family down the drain for college. This is what it looks like. So it's activity that goes with the idea of I want to do this, I want to do this. But what does that look like?
Yeah,
Heaven is good.
yes, heaven is good. And for me, when I speak about what does it look like to have heavenly relations between African people, for me it is showing concern and learning to listen better. Learning to listen better to African people, to have them tell their truth, and for me to become more sensitive to their telling of their truth so that I can respond appropriately. And I believe that love is our greatest strength. If I carry that in my spirit, if I truly carry that in my spirit, then I am already attempting to best understand you, best try to figure out how best to assist you by listening and observing attentively. So that's an action that I take in my life for making this chaotic experience that we are having in this place on the planet, in America, better. That's how I position myself. And if that brings about a heavenly balance for African people, then I am so elated. If that brings about any kind of better feeling, sense that they're encouraged, they're supported, then I'm thankful for that. And so that's why I watch how I conduct myself, my thoughts, my words, and my behavior. If I can create heaven in the way that I conduct myself and am helpful to other African people, then I'm glad for that.
Sure.
And so what it looks like for me is right behavior,
That's right.
right disposition.
Pretty much if you behave righteously, you don't have to worry about the law for the most part. For the most part.
Work the law, live the right laws,
That's right.
so we can get some good results.
And the universal law reigns supreme, so according to that, you can't spin wrong.
All right, so, you know, for the purposes of our streaming and DVD, or, you know, I'm sure people are gonna boot like this, so, you know, we're gonna just get some some final, and that's not a bad thing. You know, if you bootleg something where people are having a discussion, you might open up the floor for not only discussion, but activities where the phrase will become, you know, heaven is a good black woman, or applied. You know, it might be a little comma, applied. You know, what does that look like, and how do we do that within ourselves, in our families, in our communities? And I even heard a couple universal words, global and all over the world and nationally and international. There's a lot of things. So I would like everyone to, you know, take, you know, 2 or 3 minutes and you just give some final thoughts, anecdotes, you know, ideas. Crystal is gonna speak also. She was a little behind schedule today, but we love our sister. She grinds and gets to where she needs to be without making the excuses. She moves this wheelchair like it's a spaceship.
She's crazy.
No, I'm just messing with you, sis. But she gets it around. So I don't like to hear the excuses. When I see her in the mix, I'm like, man, she can make it. Man, I better be on time with bells on and everything else. But we're gonna start with I don't know. I mean, how do you want to do it? Y'all take 2 or 3 minutes. We can start with Crystal. You know, just some final thoughts. You know, anecdotes. Having as a good black woman. You know, family, the different people interaction. You know, what does that look like? Let's, you know, just some final thoughts, anecdotes, and what have you.
Well, what it looks like for me and what I see as original people is, I see it's looking up. I really believe that we are in the times that the younger generation, which is my generation, is coming and it's not holding back anything, but we're coming full force. Where the older generations have laid the foundation for us to do that. I even see a lot of younger women, that's my age, like they don't want to do the relaxers anymore, natural hair, dread it out, which is a beautiful thing because they just recently came out with a research study saying how hair relaxers in African American women cause uterine fibroids and cancer. So that's one of the hurdles of just a part of the insanity that we inherited from our foremothers. You know, so now we're getting rid of that and becoming and going back to our original roots. So
fashion.
What I see,
that up there.
What I see is beautiful. I'm starting to see more younger fathers actually not just knowing thyself, but actually teaching the children. And a lot of times I see more of the struggle between the mother and the father. I don't want my child to be Muslim, or, you know, I don't want my child to, you know, do all that. I want my child to celebrate Kwanzaa, and the father is actually holding it down and saying, these are the younger fathers holding it down and saying, no, this is how my child is going to be raised. And we actually need that in our community for the men to say no, because we've gotten so far from men actually being men in the community, where the men were just going to work and really just allowing the mother or the woman to take care of the child. But now men are actually getting knowledge of that self, and it's showing improving in their children's lives and in their family lives. So I see greatness. I see it looking up, especially for the younger generation. Definitely getting it in.
All right, all right. All right, we're gonna go to Sister Ojuolape. Some final thoughts, anecdotes.
Final thoughts. Family is the most strategic weapon in the war against African people. Prioritize family. Make the family strong. Strong families equal strong communities. and strong communities equals respect from those outside of our communities. The stronger our communities and our families are, the less often we'll have incidents like what happened in Florida with the young man Trayvon Martin. I always recommend that women, as women, we should marry early, because when we delay marriage, we end up making our own rules in life, making our own plans in life. It's all about us, and it becomes even more difficult to merge your life with someone else. But when you marry early, the merge is a lot more easier. You can plan with your husband a lot easier, stick to the plans, and then you have the rest of your life to carry out your goals. Create a family mission, create goals, and make plans with your husband for your family. That's my final thoughts.
For the Sister Dorothy next.
Wow. Black woman, remember, we can, but man can also. And be aware, be able to step back so we can rise, and there's heaven in a good black woman.
Ashe.
Now it's a toss up between who's next, who's ready, who's ready.
But I had
You
that
ready,
in my
Sister
heart.
Jeanette,
Jeanette?
I have so many wisdom things to say, but I will say, as we move forward, we can win. This is winnable, but it's up to us, African women, men, and children. We must make a decisive decision that we love one another, that we're committed to the good and the elevation of one another, and make plans for whatever, plans for our survival. So that should keep us busy for our lifetime and leave a great legacy for these children and the community of our children to follow. And let us always be brave in our attempt as we go forward.
And courageous, yes, ma'am. All right, can we get the T-shirt?
You love my T-shirt?
Whenever you talk, I try to get.
Can you see it?
As much of the T-shirt as possible, because I wanted to get the last word.
Every moment is a decisive moment.
Yes.
Really, this relates to a workshop that I was involved in having women and men understand, even younger women, females, and males, understand that we have to think about our actions before we take them. Yeah. We are having such a surge in the cases of HIV positive people because people are wounded, are lonely, and believe me, brothers and sisters, just having a penis, and females, having a male's penis does not mean love, and love is not just our sexual parts. It is at the whole of who we are, how we love ourselves spiritually, physically, mentally, socially, economically. So let's be about the whole of love. Let's protect ourselves. Let's know about ourselves. And let us be vigilant in holding on to that. I am sacred, and so is everyone else, and I will act accordingly.
Yeah, we do that sacred behavior, then you know that a woman only has her virtue once. And a man, the same thing, once. So you preserving yourself for the marriage young and the family young, and the only person that you having intercourse with is this one that you give your virtue to this once.
And that's ideal.
But y'all supposed to be wrapped it up. That's the ideal.
And if it doesn't happen that way, then we still must hold as sacred other people.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Because it is a lot of dysfunctional behaviors I'm becoming aware of as I participate in Baltimore's yearly Why Women Cry conference. Some things are being revealed that tell me we are still very wounded as a people.
What did the lady say? Post-traumatic enslavement disorder? What's her name?
Right. But
Joy DeGroy, Dr. Joy DeGroy.
Dr. Joyce, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. But as we overstand that as a fact, we have to bring the healing balm to it. We have to intervene on, first we have to understand that it's real, and then we can act and intervene to change the dynamics and to hold each other sacred. And that means that if I hold me sacred, I'll hold you sacred, and I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to be deceptive.
We're gonna continue. We're gonna continue, but for the streaming,
that will bring about a better energy among African people.
For the streaming, I want to get some final anecdotes from Sister Kalilah. We're gonna continue the conversation, and we're gonna keep it going. But for our streaming audience, sorry, should have been here, but everything is for real. But hopefully, we are getting, getting the ball rolling, or putting rubber to the road in other people's lives and other places where they're able to, what it looked like and apply it and make it tangible. But for our streaming audience, we have to keep it moving. But we will continue the discussion and get some next steps here. So know that we are continuing discussion. We will get some next steps, and what we're going to do is set some goals and get some time management in place to assure progress with having this good black woman, the symposium. And final anecdote, ideas, words, Sister Kalilah.
This has been wonderful, actually, because being a 5%, I spent a lot of time building with a lot of other Earths, but being here to be with different women who are coming from different ways and saying the same thing makes it make me realize that I'm definitely on the right path. But being a good black woman, or having been a good black woman, to me means strength, truth, realization, love, knowledge, accepting that knowledge of who you are, submitting to that knowledge, and then being able to teach that not only to our girls but to our young boys too, so that they know what to look for when they're looking for a woman and how to also treat a woman. Educating our families, our children. One thing that's really important in understanding who we are as good women is sisterhood. And I think it's something that we have come really far from. I know my mother growing up and had a lot of her friends around. To this day, it's still Auntie Sheila, Auntie so-and-so, and they're no more related to us by blood than anything, but that relation is definitely there as women that came together to help each other out. Like you were saying earlier, what happens if a sister's out and she might not be able to pick her baby up from school because she does have to work? A lot of times we don't have that same community that we had in the 70s, where you could just call somebody up and okay, I can go get your baby, and they come back or whatever, and you know that your baby's safe to go with this woman. So I just think sisterhood and
so much community there. We could discipline each other kids.
Discipline kids, there's no problem. But now we're in a position where everybody is not realizing that self is more than just your individual person. And once you realize that self is just more than you, self is this sister here, and the brother and the babies and everyone out there, that you can think beyond just what's going to happen for me, make sure my babies come home from school safe or whatever. We realize the effect that we have on everyone. So I just can't wait to part 2.
Okay.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Give thanks. All right, so we're gonna say peace to the streaming audience. We have about another 3 minutes with our streaming broadcast. So what I'll do is I'll put the camera on a tripod, and we'll keep going here.
Peace, power, progress, family.
All right, peace, power,
I think
progress.
our sister right here has one more word of thought.
Yeah, we let Crystal just keep going. We just keep streaming for these last couple of minutes. I'm getting a 3-minute signal up here, so we just keep going, because it took a little while for Sister Crystal to get here, but she is here and is adding to the conversation, immensely. By putting it in a generational field, just to paraphrase some things she's saying about, the fashion. So when you're saying what does it look like, there's politics in the way that we dress. We have the power to decide how we want to be perceived, by people. And people say, clothes don't really matter much. I beg to differ, because if you say I'm gonna put a righteous pin on, or a head wrap, or You know, I'm going to wear a full dress. You know, you're giving yourself the power to be perceived by people in a righteous light. So the same power of perception that's used righteous is used unrighteous. So when they put on the mini skirts and the halter tops, they want to be perceived in a physical light. But to say, I understand what's going on and face not only the ridicule and the difficulty of presenting yourself in a righteous light, because you remember, Jesus was persecuted and killed legally during that time for righteousness. He was murdered legally. That was not against the laws of the land. This is why universal law and man's law is two different dynamics. Gravity is a universal law. Man's law is the right to bear firearms. You know, that's a man's law. So, you know, just to add some clarity to what that is, to take the ownership of, but I don't want to keep talking to 3 minutes because this is a women's symposium. So, you know, wrap it up.
Well, I just want to end up saying this, that we definitely are getting back, and not just have to get back to our true law, which is Moorish law, which was left here for us by the Prophet Ojuolape. And the younger Moors are definitely standing up, and it's looking beautiful. So with that, I say, inshallah, peace.
And I even hear some Malachi York and everybody else in the mix, and we are no longer streaming, but you can keep going.